Hello friends. This video is dedicated to a controllable luminaire with addressable diodes on WLED firmware. I remind you that luminaires on addressable diodes, unlike regular ones, allow displaying a variety of dynamic lighting effects, such as running lights, gradient color change, and so on, as each addressable diode can operate independently of others. There are different options for controlling such diodes, and one of the most common and popular is using WLED firmware. It is designed for budget controllers like ESP8266, ESP32, is easy to install, and has a user-friendly interface. How to make your own WLED controller or luminaire? I have repeatedly talked about in my reviews. Links will be left in the description. The hero of today's review, the Gledopto luminaire, is already a ready-to-use device, requiring no assembly, soldering, or firmware, and possessing all the capabilities that the WLED firmware offers, including a light music mode. Before we begin, as is tradition, I ask you to like this video, as it helps promote it on YouTube, and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss new reviews and tutorials. The device type is a luminaire on addressable diodes. Model, Gledopto WLED 003. Number of diodes, 41. Interface, Wi-Fi 2.4 GHz. Additional features, light music mode, built-in microphone, button. Power supply, USB, 5 volts. Luminaire size, 315 by 30 by 36 millimeters. Stand, 90 by 60 millimeters. Protection level, IP20. Operating temperature range, -20 45 degrees Celsius. Weight, 141 grams. The device is delivered in a cardboard box with color printing, although slightly crumpled on the way. On the front part, there's the name and photo of the luminaire and the manufacturer's logo. On one side, there's a mark indicating what kind of luminaire it is. In my case, it's Wi-Fi with WLED firmware. There's also a Zigbee version, but it uses regular, non-addressable diodes, and there's also a design option, with one power cable or two for daisy chaining. The package includes the luminaire, a mount and stand, fasteners, and instructions. Despite the flimsiness of the box, everything arrived without damage. The instructions are in English, listing the specifications I already mentioned and describing the process of connecting to a Wi-Fi network, all standard for WLED firmware. The fastener is a single screw, in case you want to install the luminaire, for example, on a wall. The review subject falls into the light bar category, an elongated luminaire that can be installed either vertically or horizontally. For power, it uses a standard USB-A connector. There's no power block included in the package, but you can connect it to any phone charger, multi-port stations, or media equipment. The power requirement is small, so almost anything will do. The mounting is designed for installing the luminaire on a surface. For this, you can use the double-sided tape already attached to it, or the included screw. Alternatively, you can use the stand, allowing you to place it in a vertical position, for example, on a table or shelf. There's a special notch for the power cable, so it won't be in the way. Everything is well thought out. In my opinion, vertical installation is most acceptable, although this is, of course, a matter of taste. Personally, I plan to set it up this way, mainly using it for light notifications. On one of the side covers, brief specifications are indicated. The covers are glued. In principle, you can disassemble it if desired, but I didn't. There are no surprises inside, just an ESP32 based controller and a segment of LED strip. You can see what this all looks like in my previous videos. On the back, there is a button. A short press turns the luminaire on and off. Holding for a second changes the color, but only for static mode. This doesn't work with effects, and holding for 10 seconds resets the luminaire. Now it's time to move on to the connection. By default, which is typical for all WLED devices, it shines in a static yellow light mode. On factory settings, when turned on, the luminaire activates its Wi-Fi network named LED AP, to which you need to connect using the password LED 1234. After that, a message about the need for authorization arrives. You click on it and enter the web interface of the luminaire. The default address is 4.3.2.1. Here is the Wi-Fi settings menu, where you enter the login and password of your home network in the 2.4 GHz range. The fields with addresses below can be left unfilled for now. The luminaire will get an address automatically. If you need to set a static IP, it's easier to do it later from a computer. Move to the bottom of the menu and click the button, Save and Connect. Next, look at the network map of the router to see what address has been assigned to the new device. Now, to connect, you need to use this address. I have shown the WLED interface many times already. Functionally, it has not changed. I remind you that there are two firmware branches, the official one and the mod with microphone support, Sound Reactive. The official one, the current version as of the date of the video, is 0.14.1. It requires manual recompilation for microphone support. In Sound Reactive, everything works out of the box. This version is installed here. Let's go through the settings menu and look at the main capabilities of the firmware. In the LED settings, by default, it is set to 42 diodes, although the specifications mention 41. I didn't change anything and left it as is. The current was limited to 850 milliamperes, although the specifications state 2.5 amps. Below, there are settings for the color palette, in this case, green, red, and blue. Right there, you can adjust the number of diodes. As I said, 42 are set by default. I chose not to change it. For control, GPIO 16 is used. In the same menu, a little lower, there is an option responsible for turning on the luminaire when power is restored. By default, it is checked. I always turn it off so that the luminaire does not turn on in case of a power failure. Below it is the default brightness option. The value 128 corresponds to 50%. Here a scale from 0 to 255 is used. The microphone setting. This menu is from the Sound Reactive version. It's not in the original. These are the settings for the hero of the review, useful in case you accidentally lose them or install the wrong firmware version. The synchronization menu allows you to combine several luminaires in the same network, and you can create up to 8 groups on one UDP port. All settings and effects set on the master device will automatically be applied to the slave devices. In the security and update settings menu, there is a manual update option. By the way, in the latest official firmware, you can find it in the info menu. Out of the box, version 0.13.3 was installed. In the Sound Reactive firmware repository, the link to which I will leave in the description, the current version as of the testing date was 0.13.4. I used this file for ESP32. You need to download and save it to your disk, and then update the firmware from this menu. From here, by the way, you can also see the number of the current version and go to its repository. For those who have not worked with WLED before, I'll say a few words about control. The solid effect is a static light mode set on the color palette, like a regular luminaire. All the other variety are effects. Each of them has its own order of switching diodes. Some of them already have their preset colors, but for most, you can set the colors. And not just static, but also in sets of colors. Also, depending on the effect, there can be additional settings, usually speed and intensity, but there can be more. At the top right is the brightness slider. Effects with a music note icon are designed to work with the device's microphone and depend on the sound. They have another setting, the input level, referring to the sensitivity of the microphone. Here's what some of the light effects look like. Of course, to show everything, I would have to make a much longer video, but I think this fragment is enough to get an understanding. By the way, there are sets of effects for panels, 2D, and for cubes, 3D. But for this luminaire, you can only use the basic 1D set. Here you can see how the luminaire works in vertical installation in light music mode. Effects with a music note icon. I can't use the original sound that played during filming in the video due to copyright, but I think it's clear enough without it. The actual power, and all the tests I conducted, did not exceed this level. Here's the static mode of white light at maximum brightness. That is, all diodes are working simultaneously, with power just over 3 watts. The current is around 600 milliamperes. To avoid having to fuss with selecting effects, their settings, and color palettes every time, the firmware allows you to create presets and playlists. What are these and how do they differ? A preset is a saved current state of the luminaire. You select an effect, choose a color palette for it, set the brightness, intensity, speed, and, if available, other parameters, and then save all these settings in a preset. Later, you just need to launch the chosen preset, and all the saved settings will be applied immediately. This way, you can create a set of presets for yourself with the settings that you like the most, including light music effects. A playlist is used to create a list of presets, similar to how you do it with music. Only, while musical compositions change one after the other upon completion, here the duration is set manually, by default, 10 seconds. The transition parameter is responsible for the smoothness of transition between effects. The button with a plus sign is for adding the next preset to the list. The order of presets is chosen by you, selecting from the list of saved ones. In the playlist, there are also options for random selection of effects. It is turned off by default, and for infinite repetition, it is activated. After saving, you will be able to launch not only a preset from the pre-saved settings, but also a playlist from a set of presets. Now let's look at the operation of such a luminaire in Home Assistant. The good news is that devices on WLED firmware are supported out of the box. And once the luminaire appears on the network, the system will automatically suggest adding it. If for some reason this didn't happen, and the luminaire wasn't detected, you can add it manually from the integrations menu by specifying its IP address. But in a normal situation, detection will be automatic. For automatic discovery, no additional parameters need to be indicated. For manual addition, only the address is required. You can add as many such luminaires as you need. On this server, I only added the hero of the review, but on my working servers, I have added up to 3 WLED devices. The system adds a multitude of different objects. Let's look at the key ones. The most important is the light entity. It doesn't differ much from other RGB luminaires. There are settings for brightness, color, and preset modes. But all this concerns static lighting. For dynamic lighting, we move to the Effects menu. Here, the same list we saw in the WLED interface is available. They can be selected and activated from Home Assistant. From Home Assistant, you can also access and run the presets saved in the interface, either manually or through automations. And the same goes for playlists. This allows, for example, to link the launch of a playlist with light music effects to the activation of music on a smart speaker. There are many use cases here, and this could be the subject of a separate video. For color sets, there is a separate menu. The list is also similar to what we observe in the application interface. There are also a number of other settings here: speed and intensity of effects, synchronization, night light mode, reverse, in this case, the motion occurs in the opposite direction, and restart. An important point concerning the firmware, whose update is also available here. While it's convenient for regular controllers without microphones, for sound-reactive ones, this option is redundant. You can update, but you will lose the light music mode. Therefore, I recommend hiding this object to avoid accidentally pressing and updating to the official version. Apart from creating playlists and presets in the WLED firmware itself, something similar can be done in Home Assistant. In some cases, this might even be more convenient, for example, to apply to different luminaires. First, we set the desired mode, which is more convenient to do in the WLED interface. Then we go to the Developer menu, the States tab. Here the selected effect and set brightness will be displayed. In the number and select objects, speed, intensity, and color palette, respectively. To work with such luminaires, it is convenient to use wireless controllers with a large number of events. For example, in such a switch as Apple, there are 24 variants of presses available: single, double, triple press, and hold for each of the 6 buttons. Next, I will show an example of a package that allows launching effects with set parameters on WLED luminaires through automations. Once again, I clarify, this can be implemented using presets, but in this version, we remove the dependency on them and set all the parameters here. There will be 2 automations. The first one is small and very simple. The trigger is a single press on the first button of Apple. The action is to toggle the state of the luminaire. If it was on, it will turn off. If off, it will turn on. The second automation will consist of many triggers. Here I will give 2 examples for illustration, but in the text version, there will be 4, and in general, there can be as many as you like. As events, I use different types of button presses, but anything can be used, data from sensors, time, integration objects. For convenience, each trigger is assigned its own ID, by which it will be identified in actions. There is also a condition by which the automation action will only work if the luminaire is turned on. Next comes the condition selector, a structure consisting of separate blocks, each checking for compliance with its own condition or set of conditions. In this case, apart from the general condition, the luminaire is on, it checks the trigger ID. This one corresponds to a double press on the first button. This triggers the service to turn on the luminaire, although it is already on, but this is necessary to transmit parameters to it, effect, and brightness. Then there is a selection from the select object with the name of the color palette, followed by 2 settings of number objects, speed and intensity. Similarly, for all other blocks. The advantages of this method include its independence from presets, as there are situations when they get deleted for some reason. The second point, these settings are easily applied to different luminaires simply by changing the names of the objects, without the need to recreate presets there. Among the disadvantages, for the effect settings here, there are only speed and intensity, while some of them have a greater number of parameters. This is how it works. A single press turns the luminaire on and off, the others switch effects with settings. A great option for a luminaire to use as a night light, atmospheric backlighting, light notifications, light music, and so on. A ready solution out of the box, no need to solder or assemble anything, just plug in and use. I can't name any downsides. I got exactly what I was expecting. I plan to use this luminaire precisely for light notifications. In addition to what I made myself, there is a separate video about that. The link is in the description. That's all. I hope this video was useful and interesting for you. I'd be grateful for your likes. They will help more people interested in the topic of smart homes find this video. If you don't want to miss new reviews and tutorials, subscribe to my channel. In the video description, you'll find all the necessary links to the text version of the package, the store where you can buy this luminaire, reviews and tutorials on this topic, as well as my Telegram channel, Facebook page, and a group for discussing smart home topics. Join us. It will be interesting. Thank you for your attention. Until new meetings. Peace to everyone.